The Great Seal and the dollar bill represent the most extraordinary example in history of the public evolution of a magical design. Most debates about the design of the dollar bill usually involve the founding fathers of America, but it's important to remember that they only designed the Great Seal. There are many details to the dollar bill that go far beyond the seal itself. The Great Seal was developed through 3 committees involving a total of 14 men. But in the end, the work was submitted in June of 1782 by essentially one man, Charles Thomson. What is little known is that while Thomson presented a preliminary sketch, his final design was submitted to Congress only in the form of a written description. Looking at the rough drawings Thomson put together with artist William Barton, it becomes clear that many of the specific details of the seal, as we know it today, were added later on. For example, above the head of the American eagle are 13 stars that form a 6-pointed hexagram. While Thomson's description called for the 13 stars, their hexagram formation was not part of his original description and is not present in the earliest realizations of the design. What the Founding Fathers intended as they designed and ultimately approved of the Great Seal remains mostly a mystery.
In the night, up came a person who was wearing a cloak, and he had in his hands the Great Seal of the United States. Jefferson, of course, looked at it and said, "This is it."
In Washington, President Obama was speaking at a women's conference yesterday when all of a sudden, watch this video, the presidential seal fell from the front of the podium.
We cannot sustain, oops, was that my, oh goodness, that's all right. All of you know who I am.
The nature of the Great Seal is so mysterious that some believe that it came from a supernatural force. An account recorded by Dr. Robert Hieronymus in his book, Founding Fathers, Secret Societies, says that the Great Seal was given to Thomas Jefferson by a mysterious cloaked figure.
I love that story. The Founding Fathers were trying to get the Great Seal of the United States designed, and they needed to have a design for the Great Seal to represent our nation. And Jefferson went outside in the night, and up came a person, an individual, who was wearing a cloak, whom he couldn't totally see, and he had in his hands the Great Seal of the United States. And he basically said, or this being said, you know, you're struggling over the symbol for our nation? Here it is.
The account reads that Jefferson told a strange story. A man approached him wearing a black cloak that practically covered him, face and all, and told him that he, the strange visitor, knew they were trying to devise a seal, and that he had a design which was appropriate and meaningful.
Jefferson, of course, looked at it, according to this story, and said, "This is it." And he showed it to other individuals, and he told them about, they met this person outside. Of course, they went outside to go to find the guy, and he's gone. So supposedly they'll never find out who designed the Great Seal of the United States.
While Dr. Hieronymus admits that he is skeptical about such stories, there are others who claim to believe them to this day. Perhaps it has something to do with John Adams, who was on the first seal committee with Thomas Jefferson. According to the written account, John Adams was there when this bizarre event took place. Oddly enough, the Adams Memorial in Washington, D.C. is adorned with this mysterious cloaked figure. Perhaps it's just a coincidence. Debates have gone on for years about the secret symbolism of the Great Seal of the United States, whether or not these symbols represent secret societies.
Franklin was a member of secret societies, mainly Freemasonry,
in America, in England, and in France. And those were the three countries that were involved in the American Revolution. He was master of the Masonic Lodge of Philadelphia, and while over in France, master of the lodge in Paris, from which sprang the French Revolution. Over in England, Franklin was involved with a group known as the Hellfire Club. And this is very well documented. You even find in Time magazine. Time magazine talks about Franklin's involvement in the Hellfire Club. The History Channel has documented his involvement in the Hellfire Club. There's a number of books and articles and essays and things like that that you can read about him being involved with this group that was known as the Monks of Medmenham Abbey. That was their original name. And then they were kind of nicknamed the Hellfire Club later on. We read that the Hellfire Club was an exclusive English club that met sporadically during the mid-18th century. The club to which Franklin belonged was established by Francis Dashwood, a member of Parliament and friend of Franklin. The Hellfire Club was said to be a satanic occult organization.
It's the largest and possibly most mysterious medieval manuscript ever found. A Bible, an encyclopedia of history, magic and medicine all rolled into one.
It is absolutely mad. It is loony. There are no other manuscripts like it.
And according to legend, the product of a pact with the devil. Shrouded in superstition, this infamous tome dubbed Devil's Bible. Its infernal illustrations and supernatural spells are said to have been produced by just one monk in just one night after he sold his soul to Satan. Thought to be almost 800 years old, the Devil's Bible has been subject to high-tech scientific scrutiny. Now the results of this intriguing investigation are revealed, with shocking evidence that the diabolical tale behind the Devil's Bible is, in part, true.
Perhaps it's just a coincidence.
The Codex Gigas, Latin for Big Book, the largest medieval manuscript in existence. Once considered the eighth wonder of the world, it's almost a meter long and weighs around the same as an average adult. Inside, the Bible, ancient histories, medicinal cures, and magical spells.
It contains a combination of text that exists nowhere else. It is a most peculiar, strange, haunting, fascinating, large, bizarre, inexplicable object.
But the book is far more. The Codex wields an almost supernatural allure, coveted by the powerful. Stolen as a spoil of war, secreted away by a holy Roman emperor. Throughout its history, the Codex has inspired fear and an obsession to possess it.
On the trail of an ancient artifact that is said to have been in the possession of the most powerful rulers in history, and somehow directly influenced the design of the dollar bill. As incredible as it seems, it's believed this mysterious object could mark the beginning of Armageddon. Perhaps it's just a coincidence.
Take a look now at the USS New York arriving in the Big Apple from the Louisiana shipyard where it was built. The newest warship is comprised of steel, tons and tons of steel. Salvaged from the World Trade Center, and Ground Zero. And Laura Ingalls live at Pier 88 in Manhattan with more. Laura, good morning to you. Reading through this and saw it over the weekend, some of the interesting facts about this ship and what's on board. And I think also, too, the ship appears to look different from a lot of the other naval ships we have seen. You've seen it up front and personal right now. What do you see?
The bow stem of this ship, 7.5 tons of melted World Trade Center steel make up the front of this.
Quite a salute. Laura, thank you for that.
At the construction site at Ground Zero, a rare find. Remnants of a ship dating back to the 18th century. We were allowed to climb down 25 feet to the site and see firsthand what archaeologists stumbled upon Tuesday. And what we can see is believed to be half of a ship. Marine historian Norman Brower was brought in to take a look.
It appears to be an ocean-going vessel, and probably sometime in the 1700s. It's heavily built, very solid frames close together.
One mystery, this circular structure that Brower says may have been used as a fireplace. An anchor was also recovered.
Perhaps it's just a coincidence.